Christmas service. Now, does anyone remember last year's family Christmas service? Hand up or moderate applause? Tentative applause? Well, you do? Oh, come on. It was so fun. We actually read a story, and we did Charlie Brown Christmas music, and the kids come and they join our service and they sang a song. See, Judith is smiling with a big grin. I remember, yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to do some things this year that are going to be a big surprise. And so don't miss it. Bring friends, bring family, whether they like it or not. They're going to enjoy it, I promise. And then on the 24th, we get a little more somber, a little more serious. And we have a very mystical and magical Christmas Eve. And if you've been the last few years, come on. Who has loved our Christmases past? Let's hear a round of applause. Again, like you mean it for the new people. No, it's quite spectacular. The room is transformed, and it's a very magical mood. And really, it's something that I believe carries a special message for absolutely everyone. And that means regardless of whether they celebrate Christmas or not, or whether they're looking for traditional or alternative, it's a pretty remarkable evening, or early evening, late afternoon. So that's in your program there, and you can hand that out, put it on car windshields, stand at the street corner. And then, of course, I will remind you once again, Bright Seats are selling. Our spectacular kickoff and fundraiser for 2020. It's actually an amazing way to begin with a modern master. And all the balcony seats are sold out, and then the main floor seats are starting to sell out. So if you're thinking about it, don't play Denver on this. Get your tickets right away. All right, let's now move into the offerings. This won't take too long because we get quiet in the Christmas season. We are always looking for more volunteers. And Sarma, are you in here? Because I don't have my glasses on. Where are you? There she is. This is our volunteer coordinator, Sarma. Thank you for doing this. And I am proud to say, do you want to do the announcement? Do you want to tell them what we were able to do with the Christmas box?
Yes.
Do it.
In very short term, we put the newsletter last Tuesday night, and by Wednesday noon, we had our people donating for the housewarming box through the Denver Rescue Mission, which takes formerly homeless people and puts them into their new homes. So you know what it means to start a new home. We need everything from trash bags to toilet brushes to sheets to everything. We were able to build 2 boxes, deliver them, and they're going out to the family this week.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for volunteering. Also, we're going to be doing a special Secret Santa for a family in our community that has a lot of special needs this time of the year. And if you would like to help donate and make someone's Christmas special and beautiful, then you can talk to Sarma, and we're going to make a special Christmas box for a family in need from within our own community. So please see Sarma after. Okay, moving on. Of course, we're always accepting volunteers for the Women's Homelessness Initiative. Continuing into offerings, we're looking inside your program in case you don't know where I am. We have explorations on Thursday. I'll be there. Hopefully we'll see you. Mental illness, a personal perspective, Tuesday, December 17th. A very special talk being done by our very own Aaron Kestelroot as he talks about spiritual perspectives on depression and recovery and how to manage these things together with a spiritual worldview. Mariposa continues to do extraordinary things, so you have to read carefully there, but there will be an event on December 19th, Thursday, as well as January 7th, and RSVPs are requested. Is Tim here today? We need bifocals, apparently. All right. Anyway, you have the information and email there. Everything Tim does is fantastic. Winter solstice ceremony. We would love you to join that from 4 to 6 p.m. on December 21st. A beautiful way to Medicine Wheel with Janine Dancing Crow, December 28th. Spirit Circles starting Saturday. Spirit Circle is an event I'm doing, pardon me, January 4th. It's a 5-hour adventure, and it takes place in a teepee in Boulder County, and there's ceremony and readings and coaching and food and song, and it's going to be really cool. We only have room for about 12 people or 10 people, so if you're interested, sign up for that right away. Again, I mentioned Christmas Eve, I mentioned Greg Braden, and I think we've covered it all. Are we good? Are we going to see you on the 22nd?
Yes.
Are we going to see you on the 22nd?
Yes.
Are we going to see you on the 24th?
Yes.
All right. So, before we move into our message and our service and our meditation, one of the many special things that we do at this time of the year is that we try to sponsor important agencies and important work serving people in need. And our dear Reverend Jody has brought us into a relationship with an organization called the Bati Girls, and she's going to talk to you about that right now. And they have an incredible trunk show in the dining room that you must delight in.
Last week, I shared that when Katie Godkin Morales was in the Dominican Republic building a home with a group of people, she witnessed a father trying to sell his 13-year-old and 12-year-old daughter for food and alcohol. So she rescued them, and thus was created the Bate Girls. So Tom and I have been involved now for 2 years. And what happens is when these girls are rescued, they're put into a program and they make jewelry. One of the things they do is make jewelry. And then they've been selling it all over. And we have a beautiful trunk show. You've all, not all of you, but those of you who know me know I wear a lot of bracelets, and these are from the Bate Girls. Each bracelet and each necklace and each set of earrings has a Larimer stone on it. You can only get it in the Dominican Republic, and it has wonderful medicinal qualities. So they just rescued a 6-year-old. And the more I get into this, the more inspired I am actually, but certainly it is gut-wrenching. You know, I've been a counselor for 35 years, so I've heard a lot of stories, but when children like this are I'm not even sure what the word is. I just want to share with you and then I'll get off the stage. Human trafficking is the illicit trade of humans for the purpose of commercial sexual exploitation of forced labor. It is a $150 billion industry that exists in every country, including America, and enslaves 32 million people. Less than 1% of the victims are ever rescued. So, please come and do some Christmas shopping. Shop for yourself. Shop for anybody. We have a donation basket there. Let's help these kids get off this horrific experience. With that, have a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
So if you want to sign up for my class and know the cost, I think it's online. Or maybe it's right here. It's online. It's online. Or you can just ask us after. Okay. Susan. Susan? She's waving her hand. She'll help you. All right. So our topic today follows a very important heels of what Jody has shared. Because it's about the message of the three kings, or the three wise men, depending how you know them, and what that might point us towards. I have a deep belief that all things are mythical, all things are metaphorical, which means that no matter what we think we're doing, something else is expressing itself through us. And even when we see stories repeated ad nauseum or unconsciously, even when we see holidays appropriated and transformed for the purpose of sales and marketing, the human psyche is still filtering its needs and its impulses and the presence of spirit behind. There is no aspect of life where spirit is not present or seeking its expression. And as such, there is a way to read the Christmas story that reveals so much more than what I believe most of us have been shown. And so today, we're going to take a look at how this Christmas story and the journey of the three wise men might be pointing us each and all to what I would call a spirit-centered life. And as we move into our welcome, our opening blessing, the contemplation of a spirit-centered life, the fostering, the sharing of a spirit-centered life becomes something so much more than just managing stress or finding wellness. Because where people are rooted in the interconnection of all things, we don't sell children. Where people are interconnected in the root of all things, we don't exploit people based on their gender or their race. A spirit-centered life is one of the most extraordinary ways to experience the human journey. It is one of the most selfish things you can engage in. But it's also one of the most important things for the betterment, the good, the healing, the protection, and the upliftment of all. So with that in mind, let's take a breath. I invite you to close your eyes. Settle down and slow down. And releasing what is ever in your hands, put it down. Whatever is on your mind, let it rest. And let us, in this moment, return to our center. To the quiet, eternal presence of spirit that is within us and among us. Drawing your breath in and down, spirit enters. Holding it for a moment, feeling life force and energy blossoming and merging throughout your body. And the long exhale as we release. Little by little, we turn our attention as we move down into the inner silence. is everywhere around us, in this room, sitting beside us, the very seat we sit upon, the music that floats through the air, the emotions that move through us. We are spirit, swimming in spirit. It is from this place that we learn to see clearly. To love generously. To give willingly. From this spirit center we remember all life as family, all beings everywhere. Beautiful gifts, and so very much in need, just like us. And so we pray together, each in our own way, and yet as one. Dear God, to the one that is all divine, light, and dark, all that is, we are grateful for the gifts of this day, another chance to love, to learn to let go, and to remember our wholeness in spirit. We give thanks for the beauty of life and every moment that has brought us to this. For here we discover the whole universe within. We feel the love that we are. And the love that we are able to receive. Dear God, through this time together, through our prayers, our thoughts, our reflections, our meditations, our feelings, through all we share, may we activate this living memory that we are spirit beings on a great human adventure. May we remember our purpose to love, to heal, and learn. For all these things and the prayers that remain unspoken in our hearts, we lift each other. And the unspoken words and needs in this room. Together, we say, Amen. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And even though it's always a little different here, and even though Althea has changed over the years, and this community has grown and moved through many, many expressions since its beginning, more than 100 years ago, there is something we pass on, which is a vision of life things that you might hold in your heart as you carry this and read this today is that a significant aspect of the Spirit-centered life is what you might call faith. Faith is a word that often shows up in more traditional religious settings. Faith is not a word that shows up in a lot of the spiritual but not religious settings like ours. But faith is about a kind of trust in things that you can't see. It's about a kind of trust in things that may not be evident in the moment, but you know in your heart they are ultimately true. Like when my son, who's turning from 11 into 14, makes me feel old and stupid daily. I have faith that he doesn't really mean it. And in the same way, our statement of being reminds us that even though life doesn't always go our way, we might not always feel great. We are a part of something extraordinary. We are a part of a design, a blessing that is waiting to be revealed in each and any and every moment. And that faith is what a Spirit-centered life is all about. So join me if you will. God is all, both invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, and perfect substance. It is my pleasure to summon the great Reverend Anne Getty to provide us yet another cosmic reflection on the Advent tradition.
Last week, we talked about Mary, the mother of Jesus. But you know, Mary of Nazareth was not the only one who experienced a miraculous birth. A member of her family, Elizabeth, was also pregnant at the same time with a child who would come to be known as John the Baptist. Her pregnancy was miraculous because both she and her husband, Zacharias, were well stricken in years. That's what the Bible says. That's what Zacharias said. In fact, Zacharias could not believe the angel Gabriel who told him that his wife would bear him a son. For his disbelief, he was struck dumb and unable to speak until the child was born. But this is the Advent Sunday when we celebrate joy, which is represented by the rose-colored candle. And this joy was shown to us when Mary went to visit and stay with Elizabeth for some months. She went to the city of Judah and into the house of Zacharias, where she greeted Elizabeth. And this is how Luke recounts the story. And it came to pass that when Elizabeth heard the salutation of Mary, the babe leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Ghost. And she spake out with a loud voice and said, Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb. For whence is this to me, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For lo, as soon as the voice of thy salutation sounded in mine ears, the babe leaped in my womb for joy. An unborn child leaping in joy at the sound of the voice of the woman who would give birth to the divine. And as you contemplate this kind of joy, listen to these words of Friar Giovanni Giacondo, who wrote this letter to Countess Alagia Aldobrandeschi on Christmas Eve of 1513. But when you listen to it, I want you to imagine that this letter is addressed to you. I salute you. I am your friend, and my love for you goes deep. There is nothing I can give you which you have not, but there is much, very much, that while I cannot give it, you can take. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in it today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future, which is not hidden in this present little instant. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach, is joy. There is radiance and glory in darkness, could we but see. And to see, we have only to look. I beseech you to look. Life is so generous a giver, but we, judging its gifts by their covering, cast them away as ugly or heavy or hard. Remove the covering and you will find beneath it a living splendor, woven of love by wisdom with power. Welcome it, grasp it, and you touch the angel's hand that brings it to you. Everything we call a trial, a sorrow, or a duty, believe me, that angel's hand is there. The gift is there in the wonder of an overshadowing presence. Your joys, too, be not content with them as joys. They, too, conceal diviner gifts. Life is so full of meaning and purpose, so full of beauty beneath its covering, that you will find earth but cloaks your heaven. Courage, then, to claim it. That is all. But courage you have, and the knowledge that we are pilgrims together, wandering through unknown country home. And so, at this time, I greet you, not quite as the world sends greetings, but with profound esteem and the prayer that for you, now and forever, the day breaks and shadows flee away.
Good morning. There we go. This morning I'd like to invite you all to sing the community song with me, but I'm also doing a little recruiting for our service on the 24th. I'm going to have a little impromptu choir that's going to be standing right here in front of the stage and leading the congregation.
So if you'd like to be part of that, just come and see me. I'll let you know the songs that we're singing, and I'll send you an email, and we'll be all set. So please stand as you're able, and join me in supporting the hopeful night. Holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till He appeared and the soul
this is going to be, well, this is one of those talks when, just before I get up, I say to myself, oh boy. Because I can't quite be sure if we're all going to make it to the end of this journey together. But just hang on, because I think it's all going to make sense. You ready? I should say that there was a time when I was, I think, in my master's program, and I went into a gift shop with a friend, and there was a t-shirt, and it said, "I can't even think straight." Now, it escaped me at the time that the store sold a lot of paraphernalia for the gay and lesbian community. And I took it off, this is true, and I took it off, and I was like, I'm going to get this. And he said, well, as a young, single guy in university, I don't know if that's quite the message you want to be putting out. The point is, this is not going to go directly, but just stay with me. Okay. So I was up this morning, and I was feeling particularly delighted about Christmas because I love Christmas. And I spent quite a bit of time outside yesterday making sure that all of our decorations were just right. And I cannot even get into it, but there's like Santas everywhere in the house, and a wreath in the house. I mean, like, we really do Christmas. And I was thinking, what's the deal with that? You know, I mean, I was raised Jewish, as most of you know. I mean, I am Jewish. And then for 27 years, my spiritual formation has been with indigenous people, right? Native people, Gene Pinnock and others. Not a lot of Christmas, not a lot of celebrating the birth of Jesus going on amongst the oppressed. But I love Christmas. And I realize I want to share something very, very personal. I love Christmas because it's maybe the one time of the year I feel like I can be more fully myself without being ashamed. That's it. It's the one time of the year I can be playful all the time, anytime, and I don't have to explain. I wear a Santa hat constantly, anywhere and everywhere. I do. And adults look and they're like, good job, man. And I'm like, well, I can't tell you what I'm thinking. Piss off. I can give gifts. Nobody wonders why. I can spend hours poring over toy catalogs and fantasizing about all the different ways my kids can play and I can play with them. I can bring trees in the house. For pagans like me, it doesn't get any better. I mean, we got cedar and spruce, and a squirrel came in with our tree this year, and now we feed it. You know what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with Christmas. It just has to do with the permission to be myself. That's what it is. That's the selfish truth. I love Christmas because I can explore all that makes me me, and I don't have to apologize or explain or feel embarrassed. Does that make sense? What?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah! Thank you. Well, and to your point, let me ask the question, does anyone here have an aspect of themselves who you just don't always feel safe or comfortable sharing with everyone, everywhere? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone not? You know? I mean, whatever you are, not everybody likes it. And it ain't always welcome. What does this have to do with the three kings? What does this have to do with the Spirit-centered life? Well, I'm getting there. What followed my revelation that, oh my gosh, I love Christmas because I get to be me, was the realization, and I think it might be a little bit of anger, that we have been brutally robbed. All of us. Some of us more than others. We have arguably 30 to 60,000 years of record of human culture, and all of it has been rooted in a relationship with spirit. Until last 100 years. 150. And in this last 150 years, somehow, rapidly and remarkably, we have gotten to a place where unless you're a part of the popular gang, a spirit-centered life is something you keep to yourself. They don't want to hear about it at work. God doesn't get to make decisions about your relationship. The idea of stopping and meditating and praying before you do anything is considered something special or an imposition. And I have to admit it. I believed it. I bought it. And I think a lot of you did too. You bought this ridiculous story that we, as human beings, are still trying to decide if God is real, if the spiritual path matters. Do you know what I'm saying? People write books about God, and it hits the news like it's news. It's not news. We have been spiritual beings first from the beginning. And yes, it's true that human frailty and ego co-opted religion to the point where the depth of spirit in us said no. No, that's not what this is about. This isn't about oppression. This isn't about slavery. This isn't about power over. It's about power with. And so many of us moved away from religion. But the mistake for too many was to also move away from spirit, to also move away from God, to also move away from your identity as a soul first. A soul first. If you are a soul first, if you feel that, if you believe that, then that's where everything begins. Your decisions about parenting, your decisions about health, your decisions about shopping, your decisions about politics. None of it starts with what you think is important. You and your tiny little brain and what, how many years on the planet? 20? 80? 80 years? That's nothing. What if we start with the timeless? What if we start with the eternal? What if we start with that which designed and delivered it all? Wouldn't that be the sensible place to begin anything? Everything. So the three kings, what's the deal? I mean, they get into the stories and the songs, and there's pictures of them. It's not a big part of the Bible. It's not a big part of the Christmas story, but it gets featured prominently everywhere. And I always say pay attention, because when things are held significantly in culture, you know there's something in the psyche that needs them. And what I want to tell you is that I believe the three kings can lead us back to that birth, that rebirth in ourselves. Of course, that's what we will talk about on Christmas Eve, but think of this as a journey. The three kings are helping us to travel into an awakening that each person here can carry for the rest of their lives. Now, I'm going to read, if you're new here, we don't do a lot of reading from the Bible, and for some of you, this is delightful. For some of you, this is concerning. Just get over it. So, I want to share this, and then I want to talk a little bit about something interesting in the social handling of the three kings and why it points us back to this crime, this robbery, this shame of a spirit-centered life. In the time of King Herod, now I usually, by the way, I like to paraphrase and tell stories and color things up. I'm going to read this the way it is. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where's the child who's been born King of the Jews? For we have observed his star at its rising and have come to pay homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel.' Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, 'Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may go and pay him homage.'" Not true. When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was, the house. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, likely not the original term, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, and having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another path. So check this out. This is how I read it. Herod is really the embodiment of our society. Ego, materialism, control. Is that reasonable to say? And what is Herod most threatened by? A liberated being, spirit, someone who need not fear him, someone who needs nothing from him. Now it's interesting, historically, that the three kings became the three kings when in fact that is not what they were originally referred to as. That is not what they were referred to in the original biblical texts. That was just the later English rephrasing. Why? Well, some say because there was a passage where it said something like, princes and kings bowed down or something like that. And so they said, well, let's just make them kings too. So the first thing that I want to point out is here we even have in one of our most precious scriptures, one of the most precious stories about one of the most precious expressions of spirit on earth, a co-opting. Because they weren't kings. They were much more like shamans, wizards. Magi doesn't mean king. They were elders, healers, sages. They were people of spirit. Isn't it interesting that even in the story itself, somehow our society just managed to think maybe king is more impressive than sage. Can you see the irony of that? This is the story about the birth of spirit in human form, and even the people rewriting it were like, it's too spiritual. Make them kings. That's more convincing because people with money and power are more important. Wow, that's in the Christmas story. Rewritten so that people with money and power would see. Do you see what I'm seeing? Okay. There are other renditions where it's 3 wise men. And we won't get into the men thing, whatever, it was obviously men. Well, it was just historical. I don't think they made one of them like a girl into a boy or something like that. But wise men still, okay, let's make it about wisdom. Let's make it about the mind. They're intelligent. They're wise. They have answers. Okay. A little softer, but still not too spiritual. Do you know what I'm saying? Let's go one more step. Why did we ever stop calling them the 3 wizards? The 3 magicians. You don't want to picture Dumbledore. That's a great wizard in case you don't know. But that's actually much closer to what the real story was. In fact, these were absolutely cosmic masters. Because if you read the stories, they're all, following dreams and watching the stars. And we're talking psychic stuff and astrological stuff. Kind of gets whited out a little bit. So here's the opportunity for you. On the spiritual path, the first transition for most of us is to release our investment in the outer world. The world of seeming, the world of having, the world of titles and power. And in that way, each one of us can make the journey, like the wise men, to the stable, the manger. Each one of us can release the attachment to the image of wise men as kings. That is typically the first step in the journey, to release attachment to outer things. And then we realize that what we must embrace is within us. It is our own human experience. For me, the 3 wise men always were and always will symbolize, for me, the mind, the body, and the heart, mental, emotional, physical. And we realize that if we put spirit first, we can have a wise relationship with the fullness of who we are. Mental, emotional, physical. But here's the cool part. If you go beyond that, if you go beyond making your spiritual life a mechanism for being healthier and happier, which is fine, and you move into that 3rd iteration, the wise men as shamans, wizards, magicians, we come to a place where spirit is so integrated in consciousness that our mind, our body, and our emotions become magical. Do you follow that? When you put spirit at the center of your philosophy, you are as the 3 wise men. When you put spirit at the center of your heart, you are as the 3 magi. And we have been told that forever. It's actually the foundations of this community. When you know spirit is the source and substance of all, magic is real. miracles are possible. Of course, those who awaken to the birth of spirit in the center of themselves, they will be as the three magi. Your body, your mind, your heart, the most extraordinary gateways to the most extraordinary experience of this thing we call life. Did that make sense? So it's kind of a choice. As we come to an end to this conversation, you have a bit of a choice this year with Christmas. And how deep do you want to go? Where will you invite spirit in? Will you let the influence of society and culture and training and conditioning filter your decision? Could be more spiritual, but I don't know about that spiritual. Or is this the season you will wake up to your deepest experience of what you really are and what lives inside you? And if you can find that birth, that light again, then magic is every day. And then we don't really need Christmas to pretend. So with that, I'm going to invite Susie to come back with the extraordinary Ave Maria. And perhaps you want to take this time. You can close your eyes. And even if you don't feel it yet, you can welcome it back. The birth of light in the center of your being. The magic of a spirit-centered life.
we're going to do something more related to the message that we just heard. So please stand as you're able and join me in We Three Kings. We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star, wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through thy perfect light. Born a king on red Flatlands plain, gold I bring to crown him again. King forever, ceasing never, over us all to reign. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through thy perfect light. Frankincense to offer have I, incense owns the deity night. Prayer and praising, all and praising, worshiping God Most High. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us through thy perfect light.
Well, thank you. And before we come right to the end of our time, we'd like to call our ushers forward. We'll be joyfully accepting our gifts of generosity. And it's also a moment for us to give thanks in other ways and a few reminders. Lunch will be following our service. If you haven't been here before, please come as our guests. It's keys. If these are yours. Oh, are those yours? Oh, we found the keys. I'll give it to you later. There's a $50 handling fee. Please don't forget, we are inviting any and all to be a part of the holiday choir. Connect with Daryl, and he will help you find out what exactly that means. Don't forget that the Bate Girls fundraising gift table is in the dining room, and every gift you get for yourself and someone else will give an extraordinary gift to young women here and far away. We will have discussion groups at 1 o'clock about today's service and message. There is a board meeting, and I will be in that, but we have some wonderful facilitators that will be waiting for you in the historic classroom. Of course, our prayer partners are also waiting to receive you and offer healing prayers and blessings immediately following service. If you wanted to volunteer or be a part of helping our Althea Christmas family, Sarma is waving her hand so you can see her. Don't forget about, tomorrow, the class is tomorrow night, the 8 Miracles. It is not the 23rd. It is tomorrow, 6:15, and I will meet you in the historic classroom. You can sign up online. There are lots of other great things to remember, and it's all in here. Christmas Eve, Family Christmas, Greg Braden, and so on. I'm going to invite Judith, our former board president of many years, to offer some thanks for the the gifts today.
This is a traditional Islamic blessing. As we sit in sanctuary and rejoice in the mercy and goodness of the one God, may the bonds of friendship be strengthened. May our fellowship be a light in the darkness. And most importantly, may we remember that opening ourselves to each other, we open ourselves to God. May we thank you for these many, many gifts. Thank you.
So I will extend the thanks. First of all, Susie, I know she had to go, but perhaps she can hear us as she starts her car. Thank you to Susie. Thank you to Stephen for your magic. Pam, thank you for your beautiful gifts. And our ushers and our waiters and our kitchen volunteers. And if you'd like to get involved, I'm sure we could use help in the kitchen today. Really, thank you to each. And thank you to each and everyone for helping us to come together as a community and make this a place that is safe and fun and enriching. A place where we can say that we live a spirit-centered life and we are received with support and curiosity and teasing. So with that, let's close with a little blessing and a little prayer. It's not family, good family, if there's no teasing. It's just chuckling at that. To the mystery that is all the spirit of life, dear God, we give thanks for all the ways we are brought to remembering. Remembering our source, remembering our nature, remembering the wise, beautiful, loving spirit within all. From this place of peace and knowing, may we together, and each in our own ways, may we radiate this prayer, this calling for peace on earth. Not only the end of war, but all forms of violence. The safety and protection of children. The dignity of people, regardless of who they love or how they love, the color of their skin or the name of their God. For all beings everywhere, all creatures, great and small,